Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to this morning's webinar. Today we have our friends from National Restaurant Association, Renee Hoggay and Joe Wallace, with us to talk about ServSafe and food safety. We also are recording this today, so if you miss anything, if you want to go back later, if you heard something that was important, you can log on to our website and you will find it on on www.wahospitality.org. We'll also send you an email this afternoon or tomorrow morning that will have a link to the presentation and to the webinar itself. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. After the presentation, we will have time for questions. So if any questions you have, type them in and we will get to them. And I think that's all the housekeeping I have for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off to Shelby Pemberton. She is our Training Solutions Manager here at the Washington Hospitality Association. Good morning, Shelby. Happy National Food Safety Month.
Good morning, and thank you for the introduction, Lisa. Like Lisa mentioned, I am the Training Solutions Manager for the Washington Hospitality Association, and I am super excited to introduce Renee Hoggay from the National Restaurant Association, the Director of Strategic Partnerships. We're going to jump into a really neat presentation and go over National Food Safety Month and all the fun stuff that training has to offer.
Thanks for the introduction, Shelby. Appreciate it. And I love the warm welcome. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's go ahead and get rid of this little toolbar here. Hide video panel. All righty. And slideshow from the current slide. Here we go. Excellent. Well, as mentioned, my name is Renee Hoggay. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at the National Restaurant Association. And I work alongside my partner, Joe Wallace, who serves as the go-to contact for the Washington Hospitality Association. Now, one of the best things about the hospitality industry is how accessible it is. People can come in all stages of life, and you don't need a master's degree to move up. That said, growing your career does take some effort, like certifications and having that ongoing education. It really does matter. But wherever someone is in their professional journey, so whether you're just starting to climb the ladder or you've been here for a while, the Washington Hospitality Association and the NRA offer the career pathway tools to guide them to lifetime careers in our industry. And the best news is you don't have to start from scratch. So we've designed today's agenda to spotlight the most impactful ways that you can invest in your employees and your operation. And we're really focusing on the food safety side because, again, as mentioned, this is National Food Safety Month. As seen here is some of the content that we're going to cover. So now let's jump into how you can future-proof your guest experience by taking a look at two key restaurant industry imperatives of 2025. In today's fast-moving world, restaurant operators face unique challenges. They're attempting to preserve the heart of hospitality, but also embrace innovation to stay competitive. So in short, it's all about that future-proofing to make sure that your guests have an amazing restaurant experience. Now, at a recent Proper Forum, our CEO, Michelle Korsmo, unveiled our association's strategic vision for 2025. And it's centered around these two key imperatives that you see here: empowering the future-ready workforce and unleashing that breakthrough efficiency. These areas focus on reflecting on what's most critical for long-term success for our industry. Because let's face it, operators are under a lot of pressure. And more are finding that AI is emerging as a powerful tool because it's driving efficiency. It's helping restaurants analyze P&Ls, identify inefficiencies, make some smarter decisions, and also freeing up teams to focus on higher value work. In the meanwhile, the next generation of workforce, they're looking for how technology can help support them. They want to take things and build on advanced skills. So they want to get rid of those more mundane routine tasks. And by the way, it's working. 83% of operators say tech is giving them a competitive advantage. So by investing in people and innovation, we're not just keeping up. We're shaping the future of what the restaurant experience can be for all, now as well as in the future. So for over 40 years, the National Restaurant Association has delivered industry-built training that goes beyond compliance, and it's to help all employees from that line level all the way up to management grow in their careers. We serve the restaurant and hospitality industries, just like the Washington Hospitality Association does, along with other business sectors, so education, CBOs, but it's all to empower the next generation of workforce with those real-world skills needed for success. And as you see pictured over there on the right are a few of the brands that fall underneath our association umbrella. Again, we're going to hone in primarily on food safety and some workforce development, so AHLEI will not be a portion of today's conversation. When it comes to ServSafe, every product in our portfolio is designed in collaboration with what we call SMEs, which is a subject matter expert. And those SMEs come from regulatory bodies, academia, legal compliance, but they're also seasoned professionals from the restaurant and hospitality industry. Also that we can deliver that industry specific, practical, and grounded in real world scenario training. We're also fully aligned with regulatory requirements and standards, which is why you notice that every 5 years, we're updating our book, or at least creating a new supplement to accompany what the next food code is. Now, we recognize that there's a lot of training solutions out there, so why should you consider ServSafe over the competition? And I think that sentence right underneath the question sums it up the best. We have all the training solutions under one roof. Now, in these boxes here are some of our other attributes. Bottom line is, though, we're accepted in all 50 states when it comes to manager. We're accepted in 48 states when it comes to food handler, and 46 states when it comes to alcohol. So we have a holistic approach when it comes to our training. And not only from a national level, but as you've seen here, we're globally adopted in over 60 countries as well. Now, before diving into product, I really wanted to hone in on the importance of what's required in the state of Washington to tailor to meet your needs as operators in the state. So for those of you who aren't familiar, ServSafe Manager covers 10 areas of responsibility for managerial staff. And it's all centered around preventing foodborne illness and outbreaks. In Washington, each establishment must have at least one certified food protection manager, or CFPM, per establishment. Now, ServSafe Food Handler provides that essential training in 5 core areas of food safety for non-managerial staff. And that's important to note because while that is a nationally recognized brand, in the state of Washington, only the health department program is officially accepted. So that's why you see here, I don't have a check mark there, and I say we are not accepted. Great training, but to meet your requirement, you're not going to want to use our product in the state. ServSafe Alcohol helps reduce the risk, fees, fines, and legal action associated with alcohol service. Training is required in the state, but you need to use our online alcohol curriculum, which is Washington specific. Training is required within 60 days of hire, and our certificates are valid for 5 years. ServSafe Allergens drives home that critical front of house and back of house info needed to accommodate a guest with allergies. And Washington adopted the food code, which requires that the person in charge be trained in allergen awareness. Now, how you do it, that's up to you. You can do ServSafe Manager if you're a individual, or you can manager, or you can do allergens. But in addition to the leadership staff requiring training, Managers or PICs also are required to ensure that their employees, so those food handlers, understand what's required from an allergen protocol as well. Now, that doesn't have to go through formal training. It could be through standard operating procedures that you have at your operation. It could be, internal training that you determined that you wanted to create, or it could be formal training such as our ServSafe food handler course or our essentials allergens course, which we'll look over momentarily. And then there's ServSafe Workplace, and that consists of sexual harassment prevention and de-escalation and active threat. Now, both of these programs equip teams with the info needed to both manage and mitigate risks, while also advancing a positive culture within the organization. Now, you notice I've got a red asterisk next to sexual harassment prevention and the required for isolated hospitality employees. So what's unique in Washington is the training focuses, or the requirement focuses on isolated workers in hotels, motels, retail, security, and property services. So like janitors, housekeepers, room service attendants. It does not focus on restaurants at this time. Now, starting on January 1st of 2026, the law is going to expand, but still with that hotel motel focus on isolated workers, but it is going to include now managers and supervisors as well as the isolated employees. So as mentioned, ServSafe Manager is a comprehensive 8 to 16 hour training and certification program designed for your managerial staff. Again, to equip them with the knowledge and skills needed to prevent foodborne illness and maintain that safe dining environment. The course goes beyond the basics that we have in Food Handler. It's created by industry experts, just like all of our other programs, incorporating that latest food science, research, and updates from the FDA Food Code. We want to make sure that you're leading with confidence. This program also fulfills that person in charge requirement for the food code, and again, is accepted in all 50 states. So it's great for single units, but it's also fantastic for those multi-unit operations that cross state lines. So you've got options when it comes to that. Now, ANAB is the American National Accreditation Board, and they're also the governance board over the credentialing of the Certified Food Protection Manager exam. That governance board requires the manager exam to be proctored. Pre-pandemic, we had, it was about a 50-50 split of people taking the online training or classroom training, but they all had to have an in-person proctored exam. Then this thing called COVID came, and it shook the world because you couldn't have that in-person setting. So we had to find a way where we could still have a proctored exam, but not have it face-to-face. And so a couple different solutions came out of that. As seen to the right was that original, taking it face-to-face. Then we paired up with Pearson VUE, which is a testing center. There's over 5,000 locations nationally. And then there's ProctorU, and that's remote proctoring that can be done at home as long as you're in an ANAB approved, accredited, secure place. So you have 3 options when it comes to how you can have your exams administered, all to help make businesses compliant while also making it accessible no matter what the schedule looks like. Now, Washington Hospitality Alliance has a fantastic training program, and I'm sure you all know Shelby, and she could tell you more and more about it. So in that regard, I'm sure most of you would go through them, which would then be that in-house proctoring program. But there are these other alternatives if need be. Now, if an individual wanted to become a proctor to administer the exam, these are the steps to do it. Most common question I'm asked is, how much does it cost? And the answer is nothing. It's free. The other good thing is you don't have to be ServSafe certified in order to become a proctor. But again, WHA has a very comprehensive program, so I highly recommend that you lean in on their program for your training needs. Whoops, gone a little too fast there. So dram shop law is enforced in 38 states, including the state of Washington, which holds servers or operations as a whole strictly liable should they overservice a drunken patron or guest and that person go out and injure somebody. ServSafe alcohol is designed to help mitigate those risks. So identify signs of intoxication, and it prepares bartenders, servers, hosts, valets, bussers, front staff, anybody that comes into contact with individuals so that they can help provide that responsible alcohol service training. What sets alcohol apart from the competition of other programs out there is that it does use a real world approach. Like our other programs, we're bringing in the SMEs, those subject matter experts. So we've got regulatory agencies, law, insurance. We even have medicine and law enforcement, in addition to restaurant and hospitality subject matter experts. So we're bringing in everyone to make sure that our curriculum offers the best-in-class resource and training. It's also widely approved in 46 states. So ServSafe Allergens, as of 2022, is now a two-part curriculum. The one we're looking at here is, I'll call it the manager level for ServSafe Allergens. So, and allergens came about in general because when I came on board with the association in 2016, FAIR, which is the Food Allergy Resource and Education Department that tracks all allergens, was predicting at that point that there were 16 million Americans with food allergies of some sort. As of 2022, as you see here, it jumped up to 32 million Americans, and that number's holding tight. But did you know that 34% of people with food allergies have experienced a serious reaction, all due to restaurant food? And the leading causes ultimately were miscommunication and cross-contact. Now, that's oftentimes the result of little or no allergen-specific training. And to address this, we have these two interactive online training programs. Again, the one we're looking at here is really the manager version. You're going to cover in both programs, though, how to avoid cross-contact, read and understand food labels, the questions you should ask guests to prevent allergic reactions, and if there should be an incident, how do you respond to it? Now, this particular program is great for all back-of-house staff as well as managers because they're the ones most interacting with the food. Like our other programs, it incorporates in all kinds of academia, restaurants, agencies, medicine, law enforcement, you name it. This is the food handler version of our allergens training. It's called Allergens Essentials. And whereas the other one was an 1 hour course, this is a 30-minute kind of a quick overview of the program. It's updated like the other course with the Big 9, which now is Sesame when you're talking about Big 9 allergens, and offers that critical guidance on epinephrine administration. So both programs do that as well, which is a newer aspect to the allergens training. You don't want to have to use it, but if you do, you want to have the availability and the knowledge of what you were to do. So when it comes to food safety, it's kind of like a three-legged stool, right? You're either going to take that manager, food handler, and allergens based on whatever your roles are. It gives you that leadership, frontline, and front of house staff needed to protect guests. Now, back in 2018, we were getting a lot of feedback that, it's important to talk about things that aren't just food safety training. And the fact is that the most important ingredient to the guest experience is actually our employees. So out of that comments came these two curriculum. Sexual harassment prevention uses that scenario-based learning. Again, you're going to find all of our programs are real world to help employees understand the impact of harassment on the job and their role to create that respectful environment, making sure it's inclusive as well. And it's designed specifically for the hospitality industry. So there's lots of harassment programs out there. Many of them are an office work setting, which don't encounter the same situations that our staff do in the day-to-day operations. So by making it restaurant specific, we also have one that is hotel specific and makes it more relevant and actionable. Now, as seen to the right there, we also have a de-escalation active threat. This was another one that kind of got born out of COVID. There was a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of pent up energy. And so, unfortunately, oftentimes it's our frontline staff that was receiving it if we were, for instance, out of a particular product or had to decline seating somebody for whatever reason. De-escalation and active threat equips staff with the skills to stay situationally aware. So, and be aware of what's going on around them, but also diffuse those tense situations should they occur. And if needed, respond effectively to potential threats. Again, all of this to just make sure safety is top of mind. All these programs, both harassment and de-escalation active threat, are about offering proactive solutions to mitigating risk, reducing liability, and improving that workplace morale. So on top of our compliance training, which is really what ServSafe is all rooted in, we also got feedback from people back in about, it was 2019, that, hey, ServSafe, while your food and alcohol safety training, which focus on compliance, making sure people know how to safely handle food and alcohol is important, there's also a need for business acumen because it's essential for those managers, supervisors, but even those line level employees to understand that restaurants oftentimes run on really tight margins. So understanding what makes them successful is vital as well. And that's why we built it. Serve Success provides some of those skills and competencies needed to driving the operation and its business side. So with 2/3 of our hospitality workforce being between the ages of 16 and 34, and 87% of millennials saying that training and development is essential to a job, employers who want to retain their employees have to offer career pathways. They have to offer that professional development. And that's where Serve Success comes in. As seen here, Serve Success is an online training platform and is designed to support career advancement for everyone, no matter what their background or starting point. Like our other programs, it delivers a modern, industry-relevant content, and it's delivered over these 3 resources. So our online training suites and courses are self-paced. So individuals can do it at their own pace, revisit challenging topics if they need some more remediation. They don't have to, it's a personalized approach when it comes to training. Everybody can get what their needs, but it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to instruction. Our interactive study guides use something called adaptive technology, and we're going to lean in a little bit more on that in a moment. But these adaptive tools help engage individuals with questions to determine whether or not they're ready to sit for the exam, and maybe identify some learning gaps that they need to build on based on confidence and knowledge to succeed. And then all the way to the right are those professional certifications. So we have a certified restaurant professional, certified restaurant supervisor, and certified restaurant manager credential. Again, it's all focusing from that line level up to management, empowering employees to take control of their own careers. And our goal is to meet them where they are right here and right now, which also can help you cultivate a leadership pipeline within your own operation. So pictured here are 3 restaurant career paths. As you see from left to right, we start with the basics. That restaurant professional is ideal for onboarding, recent hires. And this level covers that fundamentals of restaurant operations. So they might be new to the industry as a whole, but it sets that strong foundational growth. Restaurant supervisors designed for those new and emerging leaders. Honestly, it could even be for those with 1 to 4 years of experience. But it's truly geared towards helping people focus on the skills needed to step into that supervisory role with confidence. And then over to the right is restaurant manager. And that's tailored for departmental leading. So think of that as front of house, back of house, service manager, even GM. It delivers business acumen and leadership tools needed to drive a successful business. So again, Serve Success is designed to empower people to advance right here, right now, right where they are. And it helps operators invest in their teams in a way that could boost retention, performance, as well as long-term success. So pictured here is what's covered under the Serve Success portfolio. As seen from left to right, you start with the basics and add in that supervisory and managerial content. So whether you're mastering a skill for a day-to-day opportunity and responsibility to learning to lead or driving the results, Serve Success has flexible online resources to meet the employees where they are. Now, one way that Serve Success is differentiated from ServSafe is you don't have to buy the farm. So what I mean by that is if, for instance, ServSafe Manager, I personally think chapter 2 on contaminants and pathogens is the hardest chapter out of the 10 for me. I can't just buy chapter 2 and move on from the others. I need to buy all 10. With Serve Success, you can buy individual courses or you can buy the whole suite. Now, there is a price advantage to buying the whole suite, but my point being is that you can fit this curriculum into your own management training program. So it's custom created and tailored for you, which is a great lead into this next slide about skills-focused training. Because in addition to those bundles that we referenced there, we also have skills-focused training. And this really was kind of born out of, like many things we've done, you know, customers saying, hey, we need to hone in on certain skills a little more. What would be the best approach to doing that? So these skills-focused bundles are actually by cross-training across these or cross-walking different platforms and courses across the board so that you can deliver skills-focused training that hones in on what it is you need in specific to your operation. Now, I have pictured here customer service and cost control, but we also have HR and kitchen basics as well. So there's a variety of different ways to help grow your team. You don't have to use the whole platform. Again, you can buy an individual course if you find there's just some additional remediation needed. Now, I told you I was going to come back to this. Interactive study guides use something called adaptive technology. And adaptive technology gauges what's called confidently held misinformation. And what that means is when you are asked a question, you are asked your confidence in when you're answering that. So I can answer a question and I can say, I am absolutely sure I know the answer to this question. And then I answer it and I'm wrong. Now, in a situation like that, what's going to happen is that question is going to populate multiple times throughout the interactive study guide to gauge my understanding. Now, let's say, for instance, I say, I absolutely know that this is the answer and I get it right. That question is not going to populate again because the system is going to take it for the word because I ended up answering it correctly. Now, if I said, I think I'm right and I get it right, it's going to populate again, but you're not going to see it multiple times throughout. Bottom line is, it's a great gauge to determine whether you're ready to sit for the exam and also the confidence level that you have again, it's all about identifying learning gaps. So with 34% of cooks and 32% of food prep and counter workers having less than a high school diploma, it's clear that foundational training is needed. Serve Success provides those building blocks, helping employees gain the skills they need to grow, but also to thrive in our hospitality industry. It is by offering professional certification pathways that employers can meet their team's desire for achievement, but also cultivate that leadership pipeline we were talking about earlier. So you're not only going to boost confidence morale, but you're going to improve productivity and efficiency and strengthen your operations bottom line. So it's a multifaceted, beneficial approach for both you and your employees. ServSuccess is designed to help transform jobs into careers, empowering employees and creating more professional, future-ready workforce, which is where we started this conversation when we were talking in the beginning of today's presentation. So another differentiator from ServSuccess to ServSafe is the fact that training is not all a prereq to sit for the exam like it can be for our curriculum when it comes to compliance-based training. When it comes to ServSuccess, experience is key. And what you see up top there is the various parameters you would need or metrics you would need in order to determine which pathway would be right for you. Before sitting for the exam, though, you would have to meet that work experience requirement, have met these prior learning education requirements, and then had a character and work reference. Okay, Shelby mentioned in the beginning of today's webinar that it was September, and September is National Food Safety Month. And so the importance behind that is everyone who works in a restaurant has a role to play to keeping customers safe. And in order to do this, there's certain things that workers must know to help prevent foodborne illness. And that's important because there's 48 million Americans get sick annually, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 die, all from eating contaminated food. Guys, that's 1 out of 6 Americans. Now, the cost of a single foodborne illness outbreak can cost anywhere between typically $2.2 million for fast food quick service to upwards of $2.8 million for a fine dining establishment. So that's why back in September of 1994, so 31 years ago, the association designated September as National Food Safety Month. And the initiative was entirely created to heighten awareness around food service professionals and the need of the general public to understand that foodborne illness is a problem and that it is everybody's responsibility to avoid outbreaks, and providing resources and tools to help make it part of your culture as an organization. So this year's theme is Most Wanted Partner. The association decided to have a Wild West theme and created 4 fun outlaws that each represent one of the 4 key food safety violations that are found in operations. Again, we're going to be releasing and already have been downloadable content, emails, webinars, blogs, social media posts, posters, all this content to lean in on the importance of building that culture of food safety. And it's going to do it by focusing on best practices, advice, and education. Okay, welcome to the Food Safety Frontier and meet the notorious Grub Gang. These 4 outlaws are wanted for crimes against clean kitchens. If you look from the left over, we got Greasy Spoon Slim. And this slippery scoundrel leaves grime wherever he goes. And his critical violation is improper cleaning and sanitation. He's always leaving dish duty and skipping out on cleaning the floors. Then we have Mix Up Menace Max. Okay, this guy has no issue mixing ready-to-eat foods with raw chicken. He says, let's have some fun. The critical violation here is cross-contamination. Then we have Germ Wrangler Gracie. She's got a wild streak and a dirty handshake, and also poor hygiene. So she not only wrangles cattle, but germs and spreads them wide and far. And then our 4th critical violation is Danger Zone Duke, and he kind of rides the line between hot and cold. And his critical violation is time and temperature abuse. Leaving food in the danger zone too long, hoping that you can get a little more use out of it, but risks the spoilage and sickness as a result. All right, so here's the schedule of the assets being released. And if you notice at the bottom there, I've got a website. If you go to foodsafetyfocus.com, you can pull these assets for your team posse. Here's the remaining 4 weeks of programs. And you can keep a little bit of gold in your saddle bag too if you use coupon code NFSM2025. It's available for some select products on our website for a limited amount of time. Okay, I'm going to leave this up for a moment for anybody that would like to scan this. We have 2 upcoming webinars. FDA Food Code is the sheriff in town when we're talking food safety frontier. And they lay down the standards of what's required for clean cooking and a safe serving. So this webinar is focusing in on making sure that people understand that no 2 inspections are the same. Individual inspectors have different agendas. So it's important to understand what those different trouble spots might be. And you can see the speakers that'll be participating in this at the bottom. Okay. And click here if you'd like to hitch your wagon to this event as well. So food handlers are that first line of defense. And, you know, Germ Wrangler Gracie could learn a thing or 2 here because it's all about making sure that hygiene doesn't slip through the cracks. So I'll give you a moment if you'd like to scan this to join another webinar to learn more about hygiene. Okay. So I know I threw a lot at you today. Bottom line is food employee development isn't just about helping people stay safe. It's making sure that they can grow as an organization as well. And the Washington hospitality industry or Washington Hospitality Association and NRA have teamed up to do just that. Providing more than just positive public influence and political action, but also empowering teams with the critical info needed to both manage and mitigate risk and secure a better future. So here's my contact info as long as Shelby's. Should anybody have any questions regarding today's webinar and like to follow up at a future date. And with that, I'd like to open it up to see if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Renee. I do have a question for you. I think you might have mentioned this earlier, but how many people in the United States get sick from contaminated food each year?
Yeah, it's astronomical. Normally, when I do these webinars, I will start by doing a straw poll, so to speak. And normally the answer I get is like 100 or 200 or 1,000. But as I mentioned, it's 1 out of 6 or 48 million Americans. So, and that leads me to another thing. So a foodborne illness outbreak isn't as wide stretch as you would think. It only takes 2 people getting sick from eating that same contaminated food to be considered an outbreak. So back in the day, I had, when there was a big cross-contamination outbreak with a major brand in Ohio, it all happened because they were marrying pans. They were taking yesterday's food and putting it on top of today's food so they didn't have any waste. The result was 750 people got sick from eating that married pan food. That cost that company nationally 75% of their market share, and it's a brand name that everybody would know. So food safety is not something you want to mess around with, both from a cost savings of product, but also from a cost savings of making sure that you're well trained. That company is now one of our biggest supporters when it comes to training. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, if anybody in the audience has questions, you could type them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We could read them on air and get those answered for you. What's the most common reason for food contamination?
Cross contact and miscommunication. So If you don't end up, so let's say, and I know we were talking about if it was, Greasy Slim, no, mix up Menace Max. You can end up having a situation where you've got two cutting boards next to each other. And oftentimes great restaurants will make sure that they have different color cutting boards to make sure that you're not using raw and ready to eat on the same cutting board. But let's say you got a mix up Menace Max there, and he doesn't care that green is for veggies and orange is for chicken. And he decides the green cutting board's closer and he uses that and then cuts some lettuce up immediately afterwards. That's cross contamination because you've got pathogens and things like that. There's also something called cross contact, and that would be a little bit different. That would be you're allergic to a specific protein, and you then come in contact with that. That protein does not have to be meat. That could be a gluten. That somebody took a gluten bread cutting board and then you had ordered a hamburger with lettuce solely, and they ended up using that to cut the lettuce to put onto your sandwich. So those are two of the things that, like I said, miscommunication is another, and that situation would be where an individual back at the front of the house was told, I can't have bread. When they got to the back of house, that was lost in translation and wasn't happened. When the individual went to go grab the plate, realized there was bread, took the bread off and said, okay, it's fine. They won't eat the bread. Now they're eating the lettuce with the burger, but the lettuce had already touched the bread. So that's where you would get cross contact.
All right. Well, we don't have any questions. I would like to mention that if you missed the QR codes in the previous couple slides, we will have the slide presentation up the video later on today. Renee and Shelby, do you have any last words?
I just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share the information we had on not only our curriculum, but all the free resources that we have available in September, but year round. Again, go to foodsafetyfocus.com for you to access these free resources that you can download. They're available in English and Spanish. So great to train your entire team.
And likewise, I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us. And if there are any questions about the Washington Hospitality Association and how to get signed up with any programs, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to assist with you.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. And thank you to the audience for coming today. And have a fantastic Wednesday, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.